Welcome into King Will's album review party. Can we really call this an album review party today? I don't
a,
really
s- a single review party.
single review party. First of all, how are you guys doing? I'm King Will. Good to see you. Ty, how have you been? How's life been?
Oh, life has been fantastic up until listening to the new Drake single.
So we were originally I had wanted to do so last week, if you were paying attention, like at the very end, I mentioned, bro, Kendrick just surpassed Drake as the second most popular hip hop artist in the world, because right now Eminem is kind of dominating.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like, as a fan of hip hop, for the past, who's watched kind of the beginning of like Kendrick Lamar and Drake's careers all the way back in 2010, this is
Hmm.
something I would have never anticipated that Kendrick would come anywhere close to how popular Drake was and even surpass him. Like, it always seemed like Kendrick was for hip hop fans and Drake was for hip hop fans and everyone else. Like, you didn't have to be a hip hop fan to like Drake, which is why he always had so much more appeal.
Hmm.
Um, and that was the plan. And then, as it turns out, Drake dropped a project on August 10th, which
Just
I'm
3 days
like,
ago.
just 3 days ago. And I'm like, you're still releasing music after that? But Woman by Kendrick?
After that public shame session by Kendrick Lamar.
So we're gonna talk about it because there's not that much to talk about. And then we'll also talk about, so with this release, of course, Drake ended up shooting back above Kendrick. So now it's like 11 and 13. Kendrick's like right there, as far as like, popular artists right now. But let's just dive into the project and just kind of let that, dictate where we go with it. Um,
Yeah.
so as you can probably tell by Ty's reaction at the beginning, didn't really think much of it. It's called 100 Gigs by Drake, and it's three songs.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I don't, it's not anything really. I don't know. It feels like I'm honestly like, did Drake see that Kendrick was ahead of him and he just dropped some songs that didn't make his last album because he knew it was gonna kind of like shoot up the algorithm, get him back popular over there? Like,
Right. Like playing the
I
Taylor Swift game of like releasing a new like single when she's kind of starting to dip down just to spike her back
yeah,
up.
it's like I because I can't think of another reason why you would release this, because the
It
songs.
feels too late for like a summer
Oh yeah,
release of
yeah, because
like just
summer's
a summer
over.
vibe. Like
Like,
yeah, we're in
Kendrick
August already.
Kendrick Lamar and Sabrina Carpenter dominated the summer. It is over. There's no room for anybody else.
Mhm.
Like, that's it. It's over. Um, and like blue and like, maybe if he had just released blue, green, red, is that the second song? That's the
The
Yeah, blue, green, red. I could have kind of seen it because that's the one I liked the most, and I think it could have fit with
mhm.
the summer, vibe. Like, maybe if that was the only thing he released, like his last chance to kind of get in. Because yeah, I mean, we're in August now, so summer's pretty much over.
Mhm.
So maybe that was it, but like everything else, nothing really, nothing to think about. I mean,
It's Up doesn't really stand out to me for any
I thought It's Up started
particular
out
reason.
like I thought it started out really strong,
Mhm.
and then when he had the chick that was like, "Turn that up, Drake," and just completely
Mhm.
changed it, it was like, "Oh, okay, it's just forgettable." You know what I mean? Like, that changed it from like, "Oh, okay, I see what okay." Now I'm just
Yeah,
whatever.
it certainly felt like because I'm a big fan. I really enjoyed 21 Savage, especially with him being featured on tracks.
Hmm.
But this just feels like an AI generated 21 Savage verse.
You're
You know
not
what I mean?
convinced he hasn't stopped using AI to generate rap verses?
Maybe not at this point.
Oh
I
my
don't know.
God.
It's not that it feels like he's phoning it in or anything. It just feels like the amalgamation of every other song that I've heard. Like nothing feels unique about it to me to make it stand out. Like it doesn't necessarily feel like a vibe. to me, even on
Hmm.
just like a pure vibe level. Like, I don't know. I think Blue, Green, Red is the biggest standout because
Yeah, it's the best
it's
song
that,
on there by far.
yeah, it's that slower paced Drake, the
Hmm.
more the in touch with his feelings Drake that, we like a little
Yeah,
bit more sometimes. But even then, it doesn't feel like I can't see myself really playing Blue, Green, Red like I'm not adding it to a playlist right
yeah.
now. I feel
Like
no
on my
need to
Drake,
add it to
yeah,
it. Like I don't even feel the need to like listen to it again after this, after talking about it.
yeah,
Like I sometimes do with, songs or albums we'll discuss
yeah,
here. So,
yeah. Like, and there were a couple of lines that I liked. Like,
mhm,
um, 21 Savage had that line. I got magazines, you got issues. Like, I like
mhm,
that. That was cool. It was a cool play on words.
mhm,
It's the only thing that stood out for me from the first song. And
yeah,
then Drake had a line that was like, "We got so much greed, I gotta leave some of y'all on red in blue, green, red," which I like that line, but I also feel like you like it's in the name of the song. So like, how clever is it?
right.
Like it partly stands out because it's literally the name of the song.
Right. If it wasn't the name of the song, it may feel a little bit more, but it's like, oh, I thought that blue,
Yeah,
green, red. I
I got him.
got this like sick
Yeah,
play on words.
I feel like what happened is Drake named the song Blue, Green, Red. And then while he was in the studio recording, someone was like, "Hey Drake, have you read the last?" And he was like, "Oh, that's why." Like just like he didn't do it on purpose. You know what I mean? Like it
It,
was
it was
just.
it was purely a coincidence.
Um, and then the third song, I couldn't even finish it. It was just weird. I don't know. I could.
Oh
I
no.
no. I don't know. It was odd to me. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
didn't
just.
I don't know. It feels like more modern Drake, and
Uh-huh.
I don't personally care for a lot of stuff that Drake has put out more recently. I usually am here for maybe a collaboration or two that he will do with people, but
Hmm.
for just like his general releases, I'm more or less like checked out even before the Kendrick and Drake beef. Like I hadn't really
Hmm.
been paying attention to his radar, and this just feels like it justifies that feeling for me of like,
Like you
yeah,
haven't missed anything.
I haven't missed anything. If this is just
Yeah.
like the average like single release, but it's obviously been performing well enough to get boost him back up to the like that position right next to Kendrick again.
Yeah, and to talk about it for just a second. So Drake, the way that we're kind of like judging this, I know Spotify monthly listeners is not like the all tell of who's the biggest artist in the world. But it
Hmm.
is currently the biggest music platform. And so it's the one that most people use. So when you want to tell who's hot or who's not or who's leaped up, it's
Hmm.
just based upon how many listeners do they have on a
Hmm.
monthly basis. So like for Drake, he's right now number 11 with about 75 million listeners. And for Kendrick Lamar, he is at 74 million, right at 74 million, and he's number 13. And so what happened beforehand when I had said this on the Gambino episode, Drake had dropped to 73 million monthly listeners.
Hmm.
So he was down basically. But what happens is, whenever an artist releases a new song, it goes on their release radar. So people that are really fans of them will get to hear those new songs. So like someone that maybe hasn't, if you haven't listened to Drake in a month, but they know that you're a fan of him, his songs will pop up on your release radar because you've listened to him in the past. Or
Right.
even because he got features on there like 21 Savage and Young Thug and
Right.
Lotto, these songs will pop up on their release radars as well. So he's kind of using so like if someone's a really big 21 Savage fan, they'll see like, oh, he just did a song with Drake. I'm gonna check that out. And that is just one more listener to add. So really with these three, he got like 2 million extra listeners that just kind of pushed him up
Right.
past Kendrick. Now, of
And
course, if Kendrick was to drop anything at this moment, he would quickly reclaim the top spot. Like,
yeah.
no doubt about it. But just for right now, at the time of this episode, fortunately, we can't really talk about how Kendrick surpassed Drake because that's what I wanted to talk about. But and that's actually how this whole thing got started because I was like, hey, let's talk about how Kendrick surpassed Drake, and I was like, what? No,
Wait,
Drake is
no, come
back up.
on.
What? No, what
Wait.
happened? And then it was like, oh, he just dropped a project like literally 3 days ago. And so we literally like just listened to it before this episode so we could talk about it.
Yeah. And I feel like Drake he's been busy appearing on other people's tracks, even from he's done a couple of singles even since the beef has kind
Mm-hmm.
of died down after Not Like Us. You know, once the victory lap came out, like Drake has just kind of gone back to doing his thing. Like there's no real, it doesn't feel like there's any like long-standing consequences to anything that happened. It just kind of happened, and if anything, it just kind of boosted up Kendrick. It's like
Yeah, no, I mean,
that's the only long-standing consequence I feel is that we
yeah,
got a great finale and Kendrick became more popular.
I think that's the main thing because before this, Kendrick was not, he was not a household name. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like, you got to be in the top 10 of artists, top 15 consistently to be a household name. Like, Travis Scott was a household name, Kanye
mhm,
West was a household name. You know,
mhm.
hip hop, even for people that didn't like hip hop, you know what I mean? People that
Right.
didn't follow it, they were still, even Eminem was kind of more of a household name just because he's been around for so long. So, with this whole beef, like I never thought that Drake is gonna lose fans over this because I don't think none of the disses were strong enough that people are gonna be like, I'm gonna stop listening to Drake because it's just doesn't really make sense. Like it's just
Mhm,
not a thing that people do. But I did think like the way that it has boosted Kendrick, I think first of all, it's sustainable. Like he's gonna be up here in the top 15 of artists for a very long time. Because again, let's
mhm,
remember at the start of this beef, he was in the 30s, the low 30s. There were like
mhm,
6 or 7 hip hop artists or rappers that were all ahead of him. And
mhm,
Drake called them out by name when he was like, Savage got you wiped down. Travis got you wiped down. When he called them out by name on his first diss track, that was
mhm,
actually pretty good. And I feel like that's the biggest, like people are talking about like, did Kendrick win? Like obviously he won with Not Like Us, but to
mhm,
me, that was like the biggest way you could really just claim victory because literally off the strength of this beef, Kendrick passed everyone that you said was more popular than him. And he passed you because the whole thing between Kendrick and Drake has always been commercial success versus critical success. Drake
mhm,
has always had commercial success. He hasn't always had critical success. Kendrick
mhm.
has always had critical success, and he's had commercial success in the sense that, like, he's a millionaire and we're not. Right?
In a relative sense,
Yeah,
but not in the like the grand worldwide tour
right. Compared to the
league of like
superstars
Drake.
like Drake and people like that, it was
Mhm,
always going to be like, I'm always going to have more commercial success than you, even though I don't have
mhm,
this as much critical. And it creates an interesting dichotomy. And this was
mhm,
the very first time in both of their careers that
mhm,
Kendrick could say, I have more critical and commercial success than you.
mhm,
Because at that point, Kendrick had become more commercially successful with Not Like Us and jumping from 30 to the. At one point, I think Kendrick was like, I think he peaked at number 8 as the eighth most popular artist in the world. And like I said, right now Eminem is the top hip hop artist because he just released an album and people are we gotta do that soon too. What man, we should have done that. Anyway, um after he just released his album, sorry, I got off track there. He's been really popular. And
mhm,
Sabrina Carpenter made her way all the way up to the front because that espresso song is just so freaking catchy.
mhm,
So, um yeah, so I like to me that's the ultimate sign of victory. Just what did it mean for hip hop in the game, and what did it mean that Kendrick finally got it felt like Kendrick finally got the flowers that he deserved. And it's like, I wish it didn't have to come like in a beef, but also that's very hip hop for you to
That
only
is
get your flowers in a beef too.
that
So,
yeah, that is
yeah, that's
like he won. It's like the spoils of war. Like
mhm.
he gets this now because he won such a tough fight.
Yeah, yeah, like he conquered and like I think what happened is there's probably a lot of Drake fans that are now going to start like really listening to Kendrick.
Hmm.
Um and like I said, I think the main thing is just permanence. Like this doesn't feel like a flash in the pan. Like it's not
Hmm.
like Kendrick shot up here and just shot back down. Like I think he's gonna be here for a long time, and he
Hmm.
deserves to be here in this spot among the top artists in the entire world, directly competing with Drake. Because before, again, like Drake couldn't even really call him competition because he was so like he had double the amount of just people tuned into his stuff and listening. And now
Right.
it's like everything I'm literally competing with Kendrick. Before he was chasing me, but now I'm competing with him.
Hmm.
And, and the fact that, that Kendrick didn't get popular from the Taylor Swift song that he did. He didn't get popular
Hmm.
from the Maroon 5 song that he did. He didn't get popular from, collaborating on like the pop rap um hybrids. He got
Right.
popular by smacking Drake
I
across the
think
face.
by pulling a Will Smith to
Chris
Chris Rock.
Rock. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, yeah, and I feel like now you can't even talk like anyone else who's reviewing this project by Drake or talking about Drake, you can't talk about him without talking about Kendrick now. And I
Hmm.
feel like even though the beef is kind of over and it's died down, I feel like that's gonna remain for a long time. Like the next time they each drop an album, we're gonna be
Hmm.
like, "Have you heard the new Drake album?" It's like, not until I heard the new Kendrick album. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like it's gonna be like that. So yeah, I think that's just
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what these numbers do when Kendrick eventually drops his new album, which has been, rumored and in the works to be released soon.
oh
So
yeah.
should
Oh yeah.
it? I would imagine I can't imagine the spike that would come alongside of it.
Well, he knows, his manager knows, everybody knows that like, okay, after all of this beef dissing, like some people are still like theorizing that it wasn't really real, that it was to gear up for an album. But the thing is like all hip hop artists, all artists, they have like dozens of songs, if not hundreds of songs that they've recorded that are just kind of waiting for a project to go to, right? Like
Hmm.
so Kendrick has enough work to like have this beef and then realize, hey, I can put together that album that I've been kind of working on. And so like it's not
Hmm.
going to take that long for him to put together an album and release it. And hopefully we should get some word on it soon and we will review it as soon as it comes out. Um
Hmm.
but yeah, I definitely think he'll because at one point he was the number one hip hop artist in the world
Hmm.
until Eminem's album dropped. And I
Right.
think when Kendrick's album drops, pretty sure he's going to surpass Eminem.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that album we'll have to do soon. I don't know why I didn't think of it. But we'll have to do that one soon. Um, I guess do you have any final thoughts to wrap up Drake's little
With the 100 gigs. Um, Honestly, not really. I think honestly I'll just forget about it not too long after all of this is said and done. Like it doesn't feel stand out. And I don't think it's really worth the time.
yeah, we this is really just so we could talk more about Kendrick. Like we did this episode on Drake's project so we could
Mhm.
talk about Kendrick.
Right.
um so yeah, I don't think it like we're only gonna remember it because we did this episode. So
Yeah.
tell us your thoughts though if you liked it, if you
Mhm.
vibed it, if you think
Yeah.
Drake is back, or if he never left, let
Hmm.
us know your thoughts on that too. And I guess until next time, guys.
Till next time.